but the tents are still up, so we'll take occupancy here on the stairs of the State House. For purposes of introduction, I'm Mark Karen. I'm a former state rep, but currently holding the position of Director of Business Development for the Southern Worcester County ARC, which is known throughout our region as the Center of Hope. I'm happy to be here today with a good group of individuals exercising democracy, and democracy is alive and well. We found out yesterday that 4 questions will be on the ballot in the next upcoming election, and one of them obviously has brought about some reaction from individuals like myself, and it has to do with doctor-prescribed suicide. The issue is unfathomable to me in this day and age, how we can survive, but we have some people who are better equipped to talk about the subject, and I'll reserve my comments for later. But to my left is John Kelly, who is a longtime activist, a citizen here in Boston, probably no stranger to many of us gathered today, but is also on the Commission for People with Disabilities here in the city. And I turn the microphone over to John. John?
Thank you very much, Mark. Thank you everyone for coming. And is this working? I'd like to talk about why people with disabilities would be opposed to this initiative. And the reason is, one reason, first of all, is that the reasons that have been reported out of Oregon, one of 2 states with legal assisted suicide, shows that the people who are being reported to have taken the suicide potion, they use them for reasons that are very social, and they are addressable, such as feeling lack of autonomy, losing control of one's bodily functions. And we're here to say that that is not something that deprives anyone of dignity, but you can have dignity however you live this life. There are so many problems with this initiative, and one of them, first of all, is that it's not even needed. People are seeking a right that people already have, and that is to refuse all treatment, refuse all intervention, decline treatment at any time. This is not a time when people need to die in agony without getting sufficient pain relief. All of us here, we support necessary pain relief, even unto sedation, even if that should mean a hastened death. We are committed to working with people so that they can get the care that they need and we need. We people with disabilities are on the front lines of dealing with a healthcare system that is always trying to find ways to cut costs and limit access to healthcare. To have insurers who may be profit-driven, to have state regulators, and even to have doctors deciding who it is gets to die under this initiative. There is just so many problems with coming abuse. We will be working on these issues over the coming months. You know, I was talking to a friend this morning. He had had cancer a long time ago. And when he first got that cancer in 1967, he was diagnosed as terminal. And terminal in this case means 6 months or less to live. 1967. He's still alive today, feels his life is great, and is a dynamic grandfather working on behalf of the citizens of the state. So, the other issue is there are no safeguards in this initiative. Once the prescription is done, once it has been filled, once it is in the house of the person who would be using it, there are no safeguards to prevent anyone from administering it. Well, an heir of the person who is subject to the suicide potion could even be one of the witnesses, one of the 2 witnesses necessary under this system. The heir, no one would know if something were to happen. There are just too many problems with this bill. It promotes negative views of life with disability. And we think that the dangers are just too great and the benefits are too small, and basically the other issue is expanding eligibility. We fear that we ourselves may be eligible. I have a catheter, and if I were to remove that, I could easily be classified terminal. Maybe not this year, but it could come, and that's already happened in the Netherlands. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John. Next up for a few comments. Thanks, Sean. Karen Schneiderman. Karen?
Thank you. I've been an activist in disability rights and social justice for my whole life, and I'd just like to make a couple of comments. The first is that I think a lot of people who either acquire a disability or are born with a disability which progresses over time often don't know other people with disabilities, and they feel very isolated and they feel very afraid, and that develops into a kind of depression. And when you feel depressed in that way, and all of us have felt depressed, but when you feel so depressed that you feel that your life is not worth living, it's very difficult to come back from that unless perhaps you seek help. But you may not seek help because you don't know anyone who feels differently, because we've been raised in this culture to examine the value of people based on where they work and how much money they have and how much they fit into the kind of norm of family life and all of that. And a lot of us do work and have families, but for some people who don't sort of present the kind of life that other people are comfortable with, they have no supporters. Fortunately, there are some supporters, and I would just suggest that the culture would be very happy and be happy about saving money if a lot of people with disabilities who have needs, which if they were met, they would be able to function well, no longer existed. And that's a very cold thing to say, but I think it is true. And it can happen to anyone. And I think we all need to be very, very afraid of that. And I want you to think about that when this ballot initiative comes up in the fall. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. This is an initiative that is going to take a lot of energy and effort, and next up on the speaking agenda is Attorney Patricia Stewart. Pat?
Hello, everyone. Initiative 1112 proclaims itself necessary for the welfare of the Commonwealth and its residents. It purports to provide safeguards for a process by which a terminally ill patient can ultimately end his or her life by reception of prescription from a physician. To pick up on a point that John has raised, it's interesting to note that these safeguards end once that prescription has been written. At the most critical time in the process, there is no protection for a patient against abuse or error. For example, there's no requirement for a disinterested witness to be present to verify that the patient's mental, emotional, or psychological state are sound. There's no requirement for a witness to ensure that the patient is acting voluntarily, is not being coerced or tricked by an individual who stands to gain from the patient's demise. Without a witness, a death without a witness is a death in secret. And a policy that facilitates the intentional taking of human life in secret is inherently dangerous. and public policies that are dangerous jeopardize the welfare of the public. To ensure that the welfare of the citizens of Massachusetts is protected, it's important that we reject Initiative 1112 and the dangerous policy that it creates.
Thank you, Pat. In closing, I would just say that this is going to take some time. People need to be informed. This is not I guess actually the title is something much different, Death with Dignity or something like that when it comes on the ballot. But please educate yourself, educate others on the aspects of this. And again, I am not as only just a bad bill, poorly written and without safeguards. It should never be before us as a society, in my humble opinion. And you know, the healthcare system must maintain its attraction to people as being a place for help and for healing, not for extermination. So let's, with your help, we'll keep it that way. And if there are questions, please come and see us after we break up and assemble.